Union. So we're going to look at some of the notes and news and notes of today's presser. Jim Curtin was live today for the presser. We're going to look at Philadelphia soccer right now. Obviously talking about Charlotte, mentioning how it's a team that presents some challenges. It's not a team that obviously has been dominating. They're still on the outside looking in, but anytime you play Charlotte, especially in Charlotte, is it Bank of America still? I forget what it is called, but it's still really tough to play in. Chris starts off by talking about the turf field situation down in Charlotte. Obviously, Charlotte FC play where the Panthers play, so turf field is a factor here. And he hopes that one day, all professional sports can move away from from the turf and move towards grass. And of course, we can all wish that, but obviously not something that probably will happen. Curtin, I don't buy that it's much about the formation. It's about us playing our principles, because you look at the intensity in the game we played against Red Bull with 3 in the back. The first half we play against that top team in the league in the first. So I guess Jim was saying in the first half of that match, playing like they were the top team in the East. I agree with that to a certain extent. I don't know what it is. I think it's because the team is just so used to playing in that diamond. But so far, the attack in general looks much more fluid, and probably because when they're going to the counterattack, that compact midfield, once they win the ball, pew, they're just booking it, and they're finding those open passes there. I do think that a lot of the issues with the Union as of right now, especially throughout the year, has been intensity and just keeping your head in the game. You got to stay focused, man. I know it sounds easier said than done, but when you have life, outside noises, a lot of soccer being played, it's hard. It could be easy to get distracted, and it's for this team. It's all about getting back on track, man. Curtin on conceding goals, eliminating the little technical mistakes is a method to get more of those clean sheets, or at least put yourself in a position. Yeah, putting yourself in a bad spot and allowing teams to score goals, that now puts you in a deficit, and this team does not do well bouncing back. Now, obviously, against Cincinnati, being up and then blowing that lead is something uncharacteristic, and so that's something I don't fully expect to continue happening here for the Union. But we have to have some freshness in the team. I'm sorry. Curtin says you don't value one set of 3 points over another, but at the same time, we need to be rotation for Wednesday. We have to have some freshness in the team. I don't know how you do it, man. I straight up don't know how they do that, because one thing we have talked about is the lack of depth on this team this year, and so where's the freshness going to come from? Now, Ty Barribo, someone that you could potentially see out there this match tomorrow. Now, for Ty, obviously we don't know a lot about him. We just generally don't, because we haven't seen a lot of him. That's someone you would hope that can get a lot of minutes, especially as a forward, because that's the plan. The potential Carranza replacement. In the midfield, Flock is injured. That's a bummer. Ali should be back here. We'll see what his role is in this match. You have no backup for Gazdag right now. Torres kind of has lost that job, and he really doesn't have a position on this team. Yeah, that depth is not doing that well. Obviously, you're out with Jack Elliott tomorrow for suspension after the situation on Saturday with the Yellows. But now you're going to have to rely on Lowe and Glesnes. And Lowe has not played well as of late, and that's a problem as well, for sure. So freshness, as Jim says, I don't know how they're going to get that, but it has to happen. Good news, Curtin does say that El Brujo is fully fit, and he's ready to go for Wednesday, so that's huge. Having El Brujo Martinez obviously picked up a knock against Cincinnati. Having him ready on Wednesday, that is going to be huge for sure. So hopefully we see El Brujo, if not tomorrow, definitely for Saturday's match. And then Curtin on last year's game in Charlotte. That was certainly one of the worst performances last year. We weren't up for it, and they played a great game. Yeah, if you didn't watch that one, definitely don't do it now. It was a bad one. And it was just honestly one of those games where Charlotte came out ready to play, and we just were not. We may have overlooked Charlotte, and Charlotte made us pay. Daniel Rios should be thanking us, because we got him paid. Man has 4 goals. Chivas of Guadalajara look at that and they're like, all right, well, Papi, we're going to buy you. And so he goes to Chivas, and the rest is history. So we don't have to worry about Daniel Rios here. But looking at this, and then we'll look more at Charlotte tomorrow, but looking at this matchup here, I like the defense going up against attack on paper, but I'll explain why I'm not fully confident heading into tomorrow's match. But we'll look at that. We'll preview that match tomorrow. One more little bit of news of note that I want to bring up here. Our dear friend here of the podcast, our boy Evan Cohen. Make sure you guys are following him. He brought up this really good, interesting topic. So MLS Moves brought up the lowest attendance this past week in MLS in the matches on this weekend. So if you look at the lowest attendance, that was Houston with 14.7K. And then if you look at the sixth lowest, that was DC United with 17.9K. The Union sold out with over 19,000 fans in attendance. That's not too far off from the low marks. And so that does raise the question. The team is going to have to go through an expansion or some type. They're going to need a bigger stadium eventually. They're going to need to be able to have a stadium that can hold more than 20K, more than 25K, possibly around 30K. Because that's like the modern stadium today, especially what we're trying to get in the MLS. We're trying to have that modern stadium. Now, obviously, the topic of debate here is whether a stadium for the Union should stay in Chester or they move into city confines. One thing we can get out of the way, I do not want to see the Union playing at the Link. I know all the 4-4s out there and people who are getting into the Union are like, well, why wouldn't you want to play at the Link? You're in South Philly, heart of Philly sports. It's easy to get to. And I get that. I fully get that. I don't want to play in the Link. I hate, absolutely despise, detest when MLS teams play in NFL stadiums. Now, there's certain instances where it does work. Yes, it works for Atlanta, 100%. Yes, it works for Seattle. That may be blowing in their face right now because they're about to be bad. But regardless, I don't want to play at the Link. I'm very reluctant these days to have the stadium in the city. Right now with the Sixers, I'm not liking that plan. I don't like the idea of barging into a community like Chinatown. I don't like that. I don't think that's conducive. So it would depend. I wouldn't be opposed to a stadium downtown or a stadium in Philly confines. It has to make sense. It has to make sense. Chester makes sense, unfortunately, because we've built something. We've built something special. It's taken, 13 years now? But it is something special. And if you haven't witnessed it, I would highly recommend you going down there and witnessing it because it is truly something special. And they're building it up. They're obviously building the grounds. They're making the whole academy go down there as well. It's going to be legit. It's going to feel like a Euro team. I think I'm leaning more toward just expanding Subaru Park, adding some more seats to it, maybe adding a second deck, a legit second deck. But I moving to the Link, fuck no. Moving into the city, I would hear it, but I just don't see how it could be feasible. So it is definitely interesting. Beth, I don't think you have to. I think it would have to make sense for the Union as well. Obviously, dollar signs make a lot of sense for the Union. They obviously have built something special here in Chester, and if there's something that's worth it, then they would probably look at it. But I think that the best case scenario for the Union is just expanding Subaru Park. I mean, I don't see the need to move out of Chester, especially like we've promised that city so much. You move a professional team like the Union out of Chester, man, it looks bad. That looks terrible. It really does. It's taken a while to gain their trust, man. Welcome to throw it in there. I am more than happy to answer it. Philly Ultras! I like it with the Paxton Aronson profile pick. What's Paxton been doing in Europe? Obviously, got a start for Eintracht Frankfurt not too long ago. Need that Eintracht Frankfurt. I need that Eintracht Frankfurt Paxton Aronson kit, man. I need that, John. I need that. I want one of them. Like I'll take Brendan and I'll take a Brendan Berlin, Union Berlin. I'll take a Paxson Frankfurt. I'll take a Mark Genk. I don't know where Jack DeVries is these days. And I think that Anthony Fontana's at Zwolle, if I'm not mistaken, in Netherlands. But yeah, for sure, man. Can we talk about the Kai Wagner leaving possibly? Yeah, we can talk about it again, of course. So right now, it's at a standstill. We've had Jose, the guy who reported it, on the show as well. Look, right now, it just feels like the Union are just looking right now at the priorities. What are the priorities? You're obviously still playing in a season as well. Kai Wagner flirted with Europe. There's been discussions, but nothing has ever been able to materialize. And for Kai, look, he obviously is making the league minimum, which is like under 650K. A guy like Kai is worth like 800 to a million a year. And so that's what we're looking at here. And so guys who make like a million are getting like DP, Tam Gam type deals. Fullbacks historically do not get those type of deals. And that's what the Union have to ask themselves. Are they going to make history and give Kai Wagner a type of deal like that? It would be unprecedented. But obviously Kai Wagner has earned it because he's been the best fullback in the MLS over the past couple seasons. I'm still sticking with my stance. If it makes sense, I'm down to do it 110%. But, Kai came out after the Cincinnati match and, talking about the love that the Union fans showed to him. And obviously he hears it. The front office have to hear it. I mean, the fans have created a whole hashtag, Pay Kai. And so, for Kai Wagner, he pretty much stated that, like, he's not difficult. He's not asking for a crazy amount of money, which I don't think like a 200K to 400K pay increase is not, it's not crazy. Like, he's not asking to be paid like $5 million a year. So I agree with that. And he loves playing in Philly. Like, he's made this his home. But obviously, he has to do what's best for him and his career and his family. And if he gets more money over in Europe, why wouldn't he take that? And I think that's really where it's at, because after this year, Kai's a free agent. At that point, he can sign wherever he wants. Teams don't have to pay the Union a transfer fee. That's been the problem. The Union have been putting that transfer fee higher than what teams want to pay, and that's why we haven't been able to sell Kai Wagner to Europe, at least. So if it makes sense, I'm down to bring him back. If not, let's not forget who Ernst Tanner is. I know this past winter period was not well for him, simply because Lowe, Torres, and Pereira really didn't pan out. So I know Ernst is kind of needs a little bit of a bounce back, but I still trust Ernst as an Italian evaluator. I still trust Ernst. Maybe, just maybe, he can't he can't scout here in the States. So we'll see about that, man. Philadelphia, I believe there has to be a change with the roster rules next season. And yeah, that's obvious, right? With the whole Messi situation, and it seems like more Euro players want to come here. Like Suarez couldn't come here because of these roster restrictions. It has to change. Just flat out, it has to change. I'm fine with with roster restrictions and salary caps because that's just American sports, but we got to raise that up. Just like in the NFL, the NBA, like that salary cap keeps going up. That has to keep going up for the MLS as well. And you got to open it up. Fourth DP, more TAM game, more money to be able to spend on players in general. That's all it is. Add a fourth and fifth DP. But okay, so they add more DPs. I'm sorry, but just justifying paying a DP deal to a fullback. I get it. It's Kai Wagner. And I think that's what everyone's looking at. Giving a DP deal to Kai Wagner. And they're not looking at it like giving a DP deal to a fullback. I mean, like, fullbacks in the world, like, they don't make crazy amount of money either. They make obviously good money in Europe for sure, but like crazy amount of money. It's that, dude. It's tough, man. It is tough to sell to the front office, man. Obviously easy to sell to the fans, but to the front office is a different story. But yes, they definitely need to add more. And like, more importantly, like, dude, if we don't make it to the MLS Cup playoffs and this attack struggles to score a goal, I mean, you got to look at that, dude. You got to look at that position, that attack in general. Obviously, Kai's an important part of that because it's man's an assist king. But it's definitely something you have to look at, man.